Hello, everyone. This is Max with MinMax in Excel, and I am doing a final overview of my initial analysis of Daggerheart. This is the open beta version 1.2. And if you have not heard about Daggerheart, it is a tabletop RPG that has just entered open beta. If you've not heard about it and you're into Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, or even if you're not, I would encourage you to go over here and kind of download it and give it a kind of fair shot with a couple of your friends or something. It's actually pretty fun. And it's free. You just kind of come over here and you click on play and you give them an email address and they'll let you download all the content. But I like to review things and try to dig into things, and overall, just the way that I process is through kind of breaking it down to the raw numbers and doing it in analysis. And it's not because I want to be that guy that actually min-maxes at the table. I actually want to find out what the overpowered and the underpowered things are, and so that I can avoid them. I don't like being the guy that's always the one killing things, and I also don't like the kind of being the guy that's I kind of feels like they're not really able to contribute to their team or ever able to kind of do any damage. And so I kind of do this to try to find a good in between place, right? And so I just want to do like one final overview of this. But if you're interested in getting this, to copy it and download it for yourself, I've been told that I don't want to just put like a giant public link out to a Google Doc on the internet. And so it's on my Patreon, and my Patreon is free though. And so I'm not expecting anybody to pay. I just am I'm trying to avoid all the bots. And so if you go to Patreon, you can join me there. The download link's right right there. Like, you can just make a copy. All that to say, I've created like a little input area here where you can pick whatever class you want, and it will automatically change your damage thresholds, your evasion, armor, and whatnot. And also, depending on what you pick here on your armor, obviously that'll change your armor. You also have to change your foundation, which is kind of like your subclass. It will automatically update your spellcasting attribute, which is important for any kind of spellcasting that you may do. Like, you just got to go to these and kind of click on delete if you want to clear them out. But I do want 2 on finesse. I do want -1 on strength, and you got +1 here. As you can see here, I've already picked returning blade, but I'm going to clear this one out, and I'm going to kind of click through a couple of these different weapons here so you can see that the average damage roll and like kind of primary damage, the attribute that I'm going to roll with. So this isn't a good one for me to pick because I have a -1 to strength. But if I come down to here like short sword, it's agility. So if I had a different character that was kind of better with agility, I might pick this weapon. I actually really find the returning blade to be an interesting pick because it has a +2 to damage, and then it also rolls a D8, and it's also magic damage. And so if like you run into any kind of ghost or anything like that, that's kind of helpful. And then if you want to have more armor, like you can get a round shield and you can get some armor here. Even though it requires strength to attack with, you're probably not going to be attacking with it ever. But if you also pick the dagger, it also adds +2 onto your primary hand damage, right? And so this is a pretty cool combo that I've been playing around with. And then you can jump over to the damage calculator. You can change your monster challenge level that you're going up against, and it'll change your chance to hit and also your average damage. All of this is just imported from that first tab, and these are just some defaults. I've included some other things over here, which is just out of the book. If like you have a damage that has a close range, it's like a throwable item, right? Or like you can kind of hit, kind of from this range, and it kind of comes right back to you, right? And so I thought about adding like a damage modifier onto it, because like in my mind, there's a lot more value to being able to kind of hit something from far away or from very far away. But I didn't add that. I just did some base level stats off of what's there. Part 2 is chance to hit and also your average damage, which is just it's kind of basically these two things, but it's just graphed over every single possible challenge level. And so just at a glance, you can get a good idea of what you'd be doing. I did a quick review of proficiency versus hit chance, which is just increasing your abilities, or if you go with the longsword, it will actually, it's a two-handed, so let me get rid of this. And I will choose the longsword, and it actually increases your chance to hit by 1. So let's go back to this, and like now I have this +1 to my chance to hit, which is pretty cool, but it's just kind of overpowered. Like, the proficiency is just so much better, and so I'm actually gonna go back to my returning blade and my dagger. Right? Okay. I then did a quick review of survivability. Like up here, you can kind of change these around to compare. But I feel like they did a pretty good job of kind of balancing these, because there's not one that's like drastically better across a minimum attacks received, average attacks received, and a max possible. All these three are without armor, and so you'll see that always HP is better, or it's equal, right? Evasion, depending, might be just a little bit higher. It just all depends on like where the chance to hit is. If we go down to like a lower level enemy here, like we still see that HP is better. Let's just kind of put this here, and HP is better, right? But then as you get over here and you begin to use your armor against a minimum attack damage, average attack damage, max attack damage, you can kind of tell that here the a minor threshold damage increase actually helps you out quite a bit, and let the other ones kind of fall off whenever you get into like this max range. But then if you're going against a higher level enemy, well, now you can see that HP increase is better on like the max attacks, but the major threshold damage is the best here, and like in between, or you always have your armor slot increase, right? And so, and like also, if you come back to your inputs and you change this to full plate armor, and then you come back to your survivability, all right, well now you'll see that your armor slot increase, it's actually going to be helping you a whole lot more, right? Because your armor is going to be reducing the damage even further. And so here, let's just kind of go up even more. Let's add on the tower shield. And so now my armor is a plus 13. And so my armor slot increase is going to give me, I have 5 rounds of survivability, right? And so you can kind of play around with these different options here on the survivability chart, and like you can copy and paste a couple of these enemies, or like you can just kind of play around with it all you want in order to get an idea of what types of increases that you may want. And then I did a archetype. It's just like a kind of quick review of if you're just going to be doing a melee martial, like let's just say I think I did all these as if I was a Hierophant. And so that's why I always got +3 to strength across my 10 levels. I got +3 to agility because it's just kind of helpful. I've gotten some other capabilities here, which is just kind of general role playing. And in this tank, I just went all evasion, all armor, all extra health, and then also added my strength and my agility because that's also used for all my spell casting, right? And so, all that being said, I just did a kind of general number of attacks that are survived up against a level 20 enemy, right? And so, against a level 20 enemy, a level 10 a player character, if you're only the damage dealer, if like you use your armor slots, you're gonna survive about 6 attacks on average. If you're this kind of like support case, which is in between, you have more HP and some more armor slots, but you don't have as much proficiency, right? Like you're gonna survive just a little bit longer. And if you're that full-on tank, you're gonna survive 10 rounds, right? But then over here, I've included like your average damage and your average damage per the number of rounds that you survive, right? And so, yeah, this is like a 15 damage average times the 6 rounds that you're going to survive, and it's 93 damage. And I just wanna double check that. Okay, 15 times 6, yeah, right. And then total damage done by the support person, which has only 2 in proficiency, but is going to survive an extra like 1 round. And then I also have this tank that's just like, it's not really their purpose to do damage. Now, I'm not going to tell you which ones are going to better or like worse. I'm just going to try to provide you with the data, and so you can try to find what type of player that you want to play, right? I have a whole bunch of extra tabs in here that's just for extra data. I've imported all the T0 weapons, and so that as you pick them throughout the different tabs, it automatically pulls the damage dice and all that different stuff. I total everything up here that's in your current collections. I don't include anything for Foundation, Ancestry, or like your community. It just kind of gets way too complex. I just have some basic stats here about kind of chance to crit and some other numbers. I included the kind of base evasion and the damage thresholds for each of the classes. And I didn't include anything around features either. Again, they're really situational, and often like you have to activate them, and they can only be used like once per day or like once per session, blah blah blah. But it didn't include any of that in my kind of first round of analysis. I did include all the heritage information from the document because I was just kind of curious about it. All the information about the foundations from the document because, again, I was just kind of curious about it. I also did only the first like the first level cards, I didn't do the cards you get at level 5 or at level 8. I have a quick overview of just the entry level armor, the T0 armor, and some kind of basic default values that everyone gets. I'm gonna remove this. I consider doing a brief overview of the downtime activities. It does feel like the 10 wounds in the repair armor are your highest return, because it's going to mitigate your damage a good amount for each one of those. If you have a character that requires a lot of stress in order to activate its abilities in its foundation, you probably want to be clearing some stress. I just feel like the hope is just grossly undervalued, or it's not very valuable here, because every time you roll, you have a chance of gaining, or like you have a greater than 50% chance to gain at least one hope, right? And so kind of spending your downtime to gain one hope when you're probably going to get it anyways, it just doesn't feel valuable. And then I think this whole thing about Ignite the Project is just a cool idea to include in a game. Yeah. I also thought about doing like a brief overview of like what you could do with average damages, kind of depending on like your main hand and your offhand. And again, here's this like returning blade with the dagger, but that doesn't include the additional kind of damage bonus, and so I haven't completed that, but it's all in here if like you want to play around with it. If anyone's truly interested, there's some other things here that I kind of thought about doing, but if like you're interested and like you want to kind of drop a comment, or if like you want to give me any guidance on kind of how I can be doing any of this better, I would love to hear that too. But any way you use this, I hope it just is able to make this game a lot more fun and enjoyable for you and for everyone that you play with. And as a game master, it's also helpful. It's also helpful for me to be able to plan around the kind of types of characters that are being built, and so that I know if there's a character out there that's doing a whole bunch of damage, it might be better to have a whole bunch of like 1 to 2 hit point enemies, and not just one big bad boss, that can be taken down in just a couple of turns, right? Kind of 3 to 5, that have like 2 hit points, would allow a lot more of the party to get involved than just one big bad boss, right? But okay, thanks for watching. I appreciate any feedback that you have. Again, the direct link to this will be behind my free Patreon link, which is in the description down below. If this is helpful and like you think it deserves a like, great. I'd very much appreciate that. But if not, and you don't do it, it's all good. I appreciate you watching, and I hope this was helpful in any kind of way. I'll be jumping into some other games here in the coming days and weeks, and so if there's any other games that you're interested in that you'd like for me to do a kind of breakdown on, or anything like that, just kind of drop it in the comments and I'll try to get to it. All right, well, thank you, and you take care.